What if I told you that every conversation you've ever had could be hacked? That with just a few words, a glance, or a well-timed pause, you could make someone believe you've peered into their soul? Welcome to the dark art of cold reading, a skill so powerful, so misunderstood, that once you learn its secrets, you'll never see human interaction the same way again. This isn't magic. It's not psychic power. It's psychology, weaponized. And whether you're a skeptic, a curious mind, or someone who's tired of feeling manipulated, this video will change you. Here's what you'll walk away with. The psychology behind the illusion. How cold reading exploits the human brain's deepest wiring, our need to connect the dots, to believe in patterns, to trust the person who sees us. You'll learn why even the smartest people fall for this, and why you might have too. Real-life examples that will shock you, from famous psychics to that coworker who just knows things. I'll break down exactly how they use vague statements, body language, and your own words against you. Ever left a conversation thinking, how did they know? You'll finally get answers. How to spot a master manipulator. Imagine walking into a room and instantly knowing when someone's using cold reading on you. I'll teach you the red flags, the subtle pauses, the leading questions, the Barnum statements that sound personal, but could apply to anyone. And the forbidden question, can you learn to do this? Let's just say, by the end of this video, you'll have a choice. Walk away armed with defenses, or step into the shadows and learn to wield this skill yourself. But here's the truth. Knowledge is power. Whether you use it to protect yourself, to understand human nature, or to unlock abilities you never knew you had, this isn't just a video. It's a transformation. If you're ready to see the world with new eyes, to never be fooled again, to hold a mirror up to the tricks that have manipulated millions, hit subscribe. Because this is just the beginning. The real question is, what will you do with this power? Let's start the video. The psychology of cold reading. Cold reading isn't about reading minds, it's about reading people. It's a psychological game, a clever trick of perception that makes strangers believe you know their deepest thoughts. But how does it work? At its core, cold reading exploits three deeply ingrained flaws in human psychology. 1. Pattern recognition, the brain's urge to find meaning. Our brains are pattern-seeking machines. We crave meaning, even in randomness. Let's test this. If I tell you, you've been struggling with a big decision lately, your mind instantly starts scanning for a match. Even if you weren't actively thinking about a decision before, you'll find one, because that's what the brain does. It hates ambiguity, so it fills in the gaps. Cold readers know this. They don't have to be specific. They just plant a seed, and your brain does all the work. This is why horoscopes, tarot readings, and so-called psychics feel eerily accurate. They aren't telling you anything new. You're just connecting the dots for them. 2. Confirmation bias. We see what we want to see. Our minds are selective. We cling to evidence that confirms what we already believe and ignore the rest. Imagine a cold reader throws out 10 vague statements. You're the type of person who's kind, but only to those who deserve it. You've been let down before, which is why you don't trust easily. You sometimes feel like you have untapped potential. 9 of them could be completely off. But if even one feels accurate, you'll focus on that one and forget the others. How did they know, you think? But in reality, you just filtered the information to fit your expectations. This is why people swear by astrology, why they believe a palm reader really understood them, why mediums on TV seem to communicate with the dead. It's not that they're right, It's that we only remember the times they seemed right. 3. The Barnum effect. Statements that apply to everyone. Some statements feel deeply personal, but in reality they're so broad they could apply to anyone. For example, you sometimes doubt yourself, but deep down you know you're capable of great things. That could apply to literally anyone, and yet it feels specific when directed at you. Cold readers use this trick to make you feel understood. When someone says, "You've been feeling stressed lately," you don't stop and think, "Wait, isn't everyone stressed?" No, you nod because you feel seen. And that's the power of cold reading. It's not magic, it's psychology. Brother, now I will share real-life examples. Let's break this down with some infamous real-world examples. You've seen these before, maybe even fallen for them without realizing it. 1. The TV psychic, playing the probability game. Picture this. A famous psychic stands on stage, eyes closed in deep concentration. Then they say, "I'm sensing someone with a J name, a father figure, unresolved pain." Watch what's happening here. The J name? That's a high probability guess. Think about how many names start with J. John, James, Jack, Joseph, Jennifer. The father figure? Almost everyone has had some kind of father or father-like influence. Unresolved pain? Who doesn't have regrets, grief, or old wounds? And when someone in the audience reacts, the psychic zeroes in, "Yes, it's coming to me now. It's your father, isn't it?" Suddenly, it feels personal. But it's not. It's just a carefully crafted fishing technique that invites you to connect the dots. 2. The cult leader, exploiting universal insecurities. You feel lost, like nobody truly understands you. Sound familiar? That's because it's universal. At some point, everyone has felt alone, misunderstood, or uncertain. Cult leaders, manipulative influencers, and even political figures thrive on this. They tell you exactly what you need to hear. You've always felt different, haven't you? Like the world doesn't see your true potential? But I see it. I understand you. That's not insight, it's manipulation. They're using psychology to pull you in, to make you feel special. And once you trust them, they control the narrative. 3. The salesman, flattery disguised as insight. A skilled salesperson sizes you up and says, "You strike me as someone who values quality over price." It sounds like a compliment. You think, "Yes, that's me." But in reality, they just framed the question so you'd agree. It's not about you, it's about making you feel good about spending more. Car dealerships, high-end brands, and even luxury real estate agents use this trick constantly. They don't ask if you want the premium option. They assume you do because you're someone who values the best. And guess what? Now you're justifying a bigger purchase instead of questioning it. The scariest part? You've definitely been cold read before, and probably never even noticed. Maybe it was a street magician who made you believe in mind reading. Maybe it was a boss who framed a request so you'd say yes. Maybe it was someone in your life who seemed to understand you, but was just mirroring your own emotions. Cold reading is everywhere. It's in the media, in business, in relationships. But now, you know the game. So the next time someone seems to see into your soul, ask yourself, are they really reading me? Or am I just filling in the blanks? Because in the end, it's not about what they know. It's about what you believe. Let's start on how to spot a cold reader. All right, now that you know how cold reading works, it's time to armor yourself. Because once you see the tricks, you can't unsee them. Here are the 5 biggest red flags of a master manipulator, so the next time someone tries to pull one over on you, you'll know exactly what they're doing. 1. The fishing expedition, extracting clues without you noticing. This is their entry point. Instead of making bold claims, they throw out bait and let you do the work. For example, I'm getting the name Michael. Does that mean anything to you? If you say yes, they act like they sensed it all along. Yes, I'm seeing a strong connection there. If you say no, no problem. They pivot effortlessly. It might not be a name. It could be someone connected to a Michael. See how it works. It's never a wrong guess because they keep shifting the target until you make the connection for them. 2. Shotgunning, throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. This technique is high-speed deception. Instead of making one statement, they fire off multiple vague ones to increase their odds of landing a hit. You're creative, but sometimes insecure. You're independent, but you also care deeply about others. You love animals, or maybe nature. Notice the pattern. They cover opposites, so something is bound to feel true. Your brain latches onto the accurate parts and dismisses the rest, making you believe they nailed it. This is why TV psychics talk so fast. They overwhelm you with information so you don't have time to think critically. 3. Retroactive fitting, rewriting history to look all-knowing. Ever had someone say, "I knew you'd say that," after you answered a question? That's retroactive fitting, a sneaky way to make it seem like they predicted something after the fact. For example, you're going through a big life change right now, aren't you? If you say no, maybe it's something you haven't fully realized yet. If you say yes, I knew it. I could feel the shift in your energy. See the trick? They always find a way to be right because they adjust their claim after you react. It's not mind reading. It's just a well-rehearsed trap. 4. Sympathy traps, exploiting your emotional pain. This one is dark, and it's used by the worst kind of manipulators, fake psychics, cult leaders, and scam artists. They don't just trick you, they exploit your wounds. It starts with a simple yet universal statement. You've been hurt by someone you trusted. Who hasn't? The moment you nod, they sink their hooks deeper. Yes, and I can tell it still weighs on you. Suddenly, it feels personal. They're not reading you. They're forcing you to relive pain you thought was buried. Your mind races, searching for a memory that fits. And now you're not just listening, you're feeling. That's the trap. The more emotionally hooked you are, the easier it is to manipulate your decisions. They present themselves as the solution to your pain, for a price. Be wary of anyone who reminds you of your past wounds just to gain your trust. Real guidance helps you heal. It doesn't use your scars against you. 5. The illusion of specificity, making vague statements seem precise. This is the deadliest trick because when it works, it feels shockingly accurate. They'll say something that sounds deeply personal, like, "You lost someone close." If it's true, boom, you're shaken. If it's not, they shift gears without missing a beat. The energy is unclear. It might not be a loss, perhaps a major shift in your life around that time. Suddenly, you're the one filling in the blanks. Instead of doubting them, you search for a way to make it make sense. That's how they win. They cast a wide net and let you do the hard work of making it feel real. Your brain wants patterns, wants meaning, wants to believe. But now, you know better. Awareness is your shield. Now that you see these tricks, you'll start noticing them everywhere. The psychic on TV, cold reading. The manipulative salesman, cold reading. That person who seems to instantly know your struggles, cold reading. But here's the thing. They don't have power over you anymore, because next time, instead of saying, "Wow, How did they know that? You'll say, I see what you're doing. And just like that, their magic disappears. Can you learn to do this? Let's cut the moralizing. Could you learn cold reading? Absolutely. Should you? That's your call. The truth is, this skill isn't magic. It's psychology. It's a game of patterns, probabilities, and persuasion. And once you see how it's done, it's almost impossible not to use it. Here's your beginner's toolkit. First observation, read the unspoken. Cold reading starts before a single word is said. Look at a person's clothing, posture, facial expressions, and even micro-reactions. These details scream volumes about their mindset, background, and personality. A man with scuffed dress shoes and a loosened tie? You've been putting in extra hours at work, but it feels like no one notices. A person wearing a faded band t-shirt from the 90s? You're nostalgic. You value authenticity and deep connections over surface-level trends. A woman constantly glancing at her phone? There's something on your mind, maybe a conversation left unfinished. The trick is noticing before speaking. People will always telegraph who they are, if you know where to look. 2. Barnum statements, the art of the universal truth. Barnum statements are vague but feel deeply personal. Why? Because they apply to nearly everyone. You're harder on yourself than you are on others. You sometimes feel like you don't get enough credit for what you do. You've been thinking a lot about your future lately. These statements work because people naturally seek meaning. They'll take a vague statement and apply their own experiences to it, making it feel like a direct insight into their soul. Ever had a horoscope that felt eerily accurate? Now you know why. 3. The yes ladder, building instant trust. Once someone agrees with you once, it becomes easier for them to keep agreeing. This is why cold readers start with obvious truths before leading you somewhere deeper. Life's been busy lately, right? Yes. And sometimes you feel like you're not doing enough, even though you are. Yes. But deep down, you know you're meant for something more. Yes. By the time they reach the third or fourth question, the subject is fully emotionally engaged. The more yes answers they give, the more they trust the reader, even when the statements get bolder. This is how people get drawn into cults, scams, and manipulative relationships. 4. Hot reading, the modern cheat code. Traditional cold reading relied on guesswork and quick thinking, but in the age of social media, it's easier than ever to pull off a psychic performance. Before meeting someone, check their public social media posts. Find an old tweet about their struggles with a breakup. I can sense a deep emotional scar. Someone hurt you and you've had a hard time trusting since then. See a picture of them hiking last month. I get the feeling you love nature. It's where you feel most at peace, like you can finally breathe. Find out their birthday. You were born under a sign that makes you both strong-willed and sensitive. You put on a tough exterior, but deep down you crave emotional connection. They'll swear you read their soul, but in reality, you just read their Instagram. The catch, power without ethics is dangerous. Cold reading is a weapon, and like any weapon, it can be used for good or for harm. Used unethically, you can manipulate people into trusting you blindly, exploit emotions for financial gain, destroy relationships by planting false beliefs. But used ethically, you can strengthen connections by understanding people better. Read between the lines in conversations. Protect yourself from those who try to manipulate you. That's why I'm teaching this, because the best defense is understanding the offense. Now, the final truth. Cold reading reveals something terrifying. We're all easy to manipulate if we don't know the rules. But now you're not easy. You're armed. You're aware. And next time someone tries to read you, you'll see the strings. If you want to go deeper, to decode body language, master persuasion, or even ethically use these skills, hit subscribe. This channel is your map to the hidden layers of human behavior. And remember, with great power comes, well, you know the rest. In a world where words weave silent threads, we speak in shadows where truth often bled. With eyes that pierce through the veils we wear, the world whispers secrets, unaware. A glance, a gesture, a slight change in tone. In every moment we're not alone. Beneath the surface the story's told. Through the cracks of the calm the truth unfolds. They'll read your scars, your fears, your fight, claiming to see the darkness of your night. But deeper still, there's a truth we hold, a map to the soul, ancient and bold. Cold reading, a weapon dressed as truth, a game of the mind, a dance of the youth. We're all part of the play in the hands of the few, but once you know the rules, the game shifts its view. For the power's not in the tricks they spin, but in the strength we find when we see within. The key's not to follow, but to stand and fight. For once we awaken, we reclaim the light. So look closely, dear soul, and see the strings. Don't fall for the spell that false comfort brings. With great awareness you now walk free, for you know the dance, and the dance is you.